You're listening to Tech Talk Central.
And we are broadcasting again from the eHealth Forum here at Divani Caravel in Athens. And we have with us Dr. Philip Sotiriadis from Telematic Medical Applications, which we also talked to yesterday. And he's come back for an encore performance. Hello, welcome.
Nice to meet you again. Hello.
How has the conference been for you so far?
It was being interesting, and it was, although it is referring only to the Greece, to the Greek area, and we see how we can exploit Greek resources abroad from medical services, etc. That is our quest, let's say, during this
to implement stuff that's going on in other places in the world and try to upgrade what's happening here.
Yes, we are due to the nature of telematic medical applications, which giving home care services from TMA welfare platform and maritime medical services from maritime telemedicine systems that we have. We seek also, it's not just only the technological part of the whole operation, more basically it is also the human factor.
Obviously, we're talking about health, so the human factor is very big part of it.
So the platform, independently how good it is, it must be supported by high expertise medical personnel in a very accurate way, in order to give the best health services to our clients.
In addition to, or in parallel with high technology that's also user-friendly and can communicate, different systems can communicate with each other and be able to integrate data from one service to another.
Of course, because our systems, that is a must, and that's why our systems are complying with international standards like HL7 and DICOM, in order to interact not only among each other, but with third-party manufacturers' systems, in order to transparently give the medical data information and update any medical record. So, in addition of all that, global telematic.
We were talking about that was the interesting part, the new venture that you're going, that you're undertaking now. Tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you very much. So we founded the global telematic medical applications with Professor Perichles Papadopoulos from Stanford, where we are developing new devices, wearable, that we can take vital signs, acquiring patents from NASA. On the sector of nanobio IT. Also, the other sector that we are focusing on are the microsatellites, in order to provide to our clients not only, as we say today, a private cloud, but also a private network in the immediate future that will come in the next, I believe it's the new trend, and it will have a huge growth the next 5 years.
People to be able to have access without having to use Wi-Fi, or in areas where there is no Wi-Fi,
no infrastructure,
no infrastructure at all. I think that would be groundbreaking,
of course, because by that new technology, which is very cheap, if you compare it with the regular, let's say the normal, the traditional.
Well, now traditional, because traditional used to be groundbreaking about 20 years ago, probably.
Yes, of course. So you can give immediate services in distant and remote areas with no infrastructure. You can serve people, and for instance, you can forbid for diseases to expand, like Ebola.
Of course.
For instance, if you give remote specialized remote services on how to treat the people and the patients.
And I want you to tell me a little bit more about both of these new ventures, going from the general to the specific. In you're implementing all these, and you're in the process of creating all this this technology, and with the patents from NASA. So do we have any specific applications as of yet, or is it still in the brainstorming planning stage?
No. There are specific applications. These new devices that are now developing, it will be integrated into TMA's software that we are using already.
What kind of devices are we talking about that are?
We're talking about devices that they can read the vital signs.
Wearables? Or?
Wearables. It would be wearables, depending on the nature of the use of the people.
So you're customizing. So you're tailor making.
Yes.
For depending on the use, you're going to make the device.
Yes.
Okay.
Depending on the use. So it could be a vest, or it could be wearable device like a watch.
Yes.
For instance, there is a printed sensor that can read troponin from the blood without take a blood sample.
Huge. I'm personally terrified of needles, so that's huge for me.
So, of course, there is a lot of road to go ahead in order to standardize and take all the permissions, the clinical permissions for that sensor. But we're in a very good stage, we can say.
That's what I wanted to ask. So, how far along have you gotten? I mean, how long is it going to be until this starts?
I will tell the following, that these devices and these sensors are already patented, so that means they're already working to astronauts in the International Space Station. So
how long until they're on the market?
We believe we have a 5-year plan, but we believe the latest in 5 years from now.
And how?
With all the licenses, etc.
Of course, that's what I wanted to ask. How do you see that in the bigger picture of in this country? Is the law structure and the whole system helping you or hindering you, or?
We're talking about Greece now.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
I'm saying, what do you think needs to happen, or what would you hope will happen in these 5 years to make what you're doing easier to bring to the consumer, to bring to the patient?
I believe if the systems to be a success in Greece.
I'm saying because we were talking yesterday that finally there are laws in place.
Yes.
For telemedicine that and I would like you to repeat yourself a little bit on that, since we were talking about this yesterday, that have opened the way and have freed the hands of doctors to be able to use this technology here in Greece finally. So based on that, how do you see the laws forming in health in Greece in order to help you and help the industry in general, help e-health, help telemedicine, help the wearables,
I believe that at first, the first time that we have a telemedicine law in Greece, was on 2011, where in the law that was about liver implant, there was a paragraph there about telemedicine.
So that's basically it.
That's basically it. That says clearly, though, that the responsibility of the patient, it is only on the doctor that is on site, and the remote specialist is just giving a consultation. He's not doing. Basically, he's doing a telediagnosis, but He's,
The
he doesn't have the
responsibility remains on the
responsibility.
doctor. That's
So the telemedicine is between doctor and doctor,
yes.
not between doctor and patient, which can happen to other countries where they have a certified telediagnosis, for instance, specialties. And of course, the responsibility there, it goes up to the remote doctor. That happens in USA,
Yeah.
for instance, where there are many medical networks that are giving their services via various platforms all over the world.
So we're far away from that in Greece.
In Greece, we're far away from that.
Do you see us getting any closer? Within these 5 years that we're talking about,
No.
from you don't see us.
To be honest,
What
no.
needs to happen to get us closer? Is it government? Is it prejudice? Is it doctors? Is it the whole health industry in this country? What do you think is the greatest cause?
I believe that it is the mentality, first of all.
They still don't trust the technology.
Yes, and that, and they want the public healthcare system to be in charge of everything. That cannot be succeeded in any country. What it has been succeeded is the public healthcare sector to be to set the proper standards and to enforce the private sector to be.
You mean the law structure?
Yes, the law structure. Yes, in order to enforce the private sector to be compliant with that.
With the certifications and the standards
For
set
instance,
and the laws.
For instance, Australia. On Australia, they have enforced the personal healthcare record. That means that every citizen has to upload his own data. But that healthcare record that belongs to the public healthcare system, all the private hospitals that have from various vendors, HIS systems and EMRs, etc., have to be compliant, to be connected with the public.
To have access to the
in order
records.
to have access, exactly right, and to update the patient record from the private system
so the
to
public
the
sector to have the general overview of the framework and the laws, whether or not they're implemented, the general standards.
There is no electronic medical record in Greece yet.
In Greece, yes, there isn't, and as we were saying, when we were talking previously, most doctors don't keep medical records as well of their patients in this country. I've noticed. I mean, none of my doctors so far have kept medical records. It's up to the patient to do so. So basically, we're looking at an uphill battle. You guys are looking at an uphill battle.
Basically, what we are doing is we can to export our services.
Yes.
By using Greek technology and Greek human resources.
What I wanted to ask you before we go is, do you see, regardless of the laws and the way the system is set up in this country, do you see patients in this country anytime in the future being open? I know some people may be, but I think some people also may not be open to being treated by a doctor remotely or using this technology. What is your experience? What do you see?
I believe that the technology is getting to our lives day by day more and more.
And I do see people more open to that, but when it comes to their health, I don't know.
To be honest, no one can substitute the natural presence of a doctor. But if we consider the geographical structure of Greece and the problems that we have,
there are a lot of remote areas that do not have access to any healthcare.
That was what we were discussing. We're seeing now because we have implemented with Cosmote the national-wide telemedicine network. We saw, and during the training period now that we are giving to the doctors, The majority of the remote areas, if they do not have even a doctor,
Yeah, they
or
don't
or
have
if
a-
they do have a doctor, in the best case for 1 or 2 months,
Yeah.
not for longer periods. So what happens to the people there? They are hanging on to paramedic
Yeah.
personnel. So what is better, to have nothing or to have a remote consultant to
Obviously.
give you?
Obviously.
And of course, if there is a doctor, in the other case, as I aforementioned, the doctor cannot be replaced. But that doctor can eliminate the possibility of an error by asking a second opinion or even a third
By,
opinion
from a colleague, of
from a
course, of
colleague
course.
or from a network, from a supporting network of medical doctors.
Or in some remote islands, I know there may be one doctor, but for example, if I'm not mistaken, I think last year or the year before, there was one doctor in the entire island of Paros, and he was a cardiothoracic surgeon.
Yeah.
That was so. But when they needed a pediatrician, when they needed a gynecologist, when they needed, this was the only doctor, cardiothoracic. So, this particular doctor could have access to colleagues in other fields in order to be able to provide for the patients that are not of his specialty, that are not within his
Yeah.
particular scope of knowledge and experience.
Yeah. If I can, if I can say an example that happened in the past, in a remote area, via telemedicine, it was treating a young man's life was saved because he had a high blood pressure and he was going to have an arterial vessel.
Yeah, it's escaping me too.
Yes. And
Stroke, I think it is.
Yes, he was going to have a stroke, and so the tension and the blood pressure was very high in his brain. And the doctor, it was just not even a GP, and he didn't know what to do.
Aneurysm, I found it.
Aneurysm. Yes. Aneurysm. Yes. And it is a little brutal what I say, but the doctor for remotely he gave instructions to that. Practitioner, yes, on how to mark in what exact point in the scalp to mark, and to get a common drill that we are drilling the walls, make and take the thinnest
bit,
yes, in order to penetrate the scalp and
relieve the
blood
pressure.
and relieve the pressure, and that saves that man's
Absolutely,
life.
absolutely. Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
It's just a very
Fascinating. Dr. Sotiriadis, I want to thank you very much for being
Thank you
with
very
us
much.
a second time.
Thank you very much.
So we could do this in English and put it up on our site. And I hope you, Godspeed, and I hope you continue to do your wonderful work.
Thank you very much.
And I do think things will change in Greece. I just hope they'll change quicker. And
My
we get the
hope.
laws going, and we get the system to start moving faster and catching up with the times. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
your
very
time.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.